Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and welcome to this week's episode of The Knife Guy. So what are we talking about today? Today's topic, or today's subject, is a pretty simple one. I feel like something that pretty much everybody can relate to. And that's mood carry. Or I guess that's what I'm calling it. It is essentially what all of us do in some way, shape, or form. Our carry knife is much, especially if you collect, especially if you have, not even collect, especially if you have a rotation. Your selection for the day is substantially more influenced by your mood or just what you find appealing than it is based on what you're actually going to use it for the day. Very few people are robotic enough to be like, these are the types of tasks that I am likely to encounter. I shall choose a pocket tool that is perfectly coordinated to do said task. Like, nobody does that, right? You can say that you do, right? If you do, I'll tell you what. If you do, it's likely that you carry this, right? And that's fine. Like if that's the type of person, but. Most of us will carry a knife that is based on our mood, right? Now, this is different for every single person because for some people, like their tastes specifically, kind of lean towards a simpler, more utilitarian profile, right? So if you're the type of person who carries much more plain Jane, straightforward utility, just knife-shaped knives, right? The Herman's a bad example because it's a really expensive knife-shaped knife, but there are much less expensive, like budget-oriented knife-shaped knives that have more of a plain Jane aesthetic and are clearly much more geared towards function and utility than they are flash and pomp and frill and all that, right? But even then, you have variation if you have any type of rotation, right? Many of you watching have one or two knives, right? Even if it's just two knives, your mood will influence what you carry. A lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time, much more often than what you're going to do with it. I have totally different knives. Like if I'm going to go, if I'm like, listen, I got to do a bunch of stuff today that's definitely going to require a knife, right? I am going to need, something that I can cut conveniently with for an extended period of time without having to think about. I can tell you what I'm going to, grab a lot of the time is like my Para 3, or I'm going to carry my 80 20.5, right? Those are the types of knives that I'm going to grab and use and not have to really think about it. Or, like some of my, like the Vision FG is another great example of a knife that I'm like, that's a knife that is, pretty much 90, it's largely more function than anything else, right? My mood is not what's choosing that. But as a knife enthusiast and collector primarily, and then secondary, like somebody who uses knives, and as a regular Joe who's not doing anything that would require a specialized tool. My choices for the day are almost entirely influenced by my mood and what I think is cool, right? Everything that I carry is overkill. Unless I am literally carrying that stupid little husky thing. That the only reason I have this is just to use it as an example, right? I don't even know why you're watching my channel if that's the only thing you would ever carry. That's fine. It's perfectly okay to make that choice, right? But if you watch my channel all the time, if you're just like existing here and you just pop in every now and then to be like, the only tool I need is a husky box cutter. All right, why are you watching this? but anyways. You guys know I have about 300 knives, right? I just love collecting knives, but I also love having options. I got a ton of knives that I don't carry and use. Tons of my knives are safe queens, and that bothers people to no end. I don't know why. I don't know why you'd waste your emotional energy on it, because I'm not going to change, and neither are the other people who carry safe queen or that own safe queens. But a ton of the knives that are in these Pelican cases off to the left are legitimately knives that I use. Probably, oh boy, at least half of them. I mean, they don't all get used a ton, because there's only so many days in the year. But tons of them are knives that I will use and not, it won't bother me. Everything that's out on the table is like sort of a guilty pleasure carry in some way, shape, or form. There's nothing out here that I choose to carry purely for function. And I'll give you an example of exactly what I'm talking about with each individual knife. The Demko AD10, it's a great knife and arguably one of the most, like carryable, ultra durable knives that are out there. Like Cold Steel makes a ton of like giant knives. And it's like, yeah, it's like super durable, but you're also trading just like general convenience and comfort to carry around this giant, basically the folding knife equivalent of a two-handed sword, right? For what? Like most people aren't doing what you got to do it. So I'm not going to take this AD10 out and use it I'm not going to max out its potential, not even close, right? So I don't carry it for that. But specifically, I carry this one because I got those sweet original goat scales on it. This thing feels like a thunder tank. This thing feels apocalypse ready. I mean, it is genuinely one of the most truly capable like if you're the ratio of like convenient, like carryable weight and size to function and durability. I mean, this is one of the best on the planet. It's really good. Adding the titanium scales does nothing else than add this heft that specifically equates to that feeling in my head, right? If I'm carrying this, my mood is I want to carry something big and capable. Like, I mean, I'm probably only gonna, maybe they, the DoorDash people, like they sealed the bag too tight and I got to cut the seals before I eat my cheeseburger. Like, maybe I'll do that. But just in case I have to pry open an ammo crate, you never know, right? I mean, that's why I'm carrying it. Truthfully, same reason I'm going to carry the AD15. Honestly, this thing I find to be a little bit scary to manipulate. I'm always a little nervous to manipulate that scorpion lock, but it is super cool. I also will carry this if I feel like I'm going to interact with somebody who appreciates knives and they might want to see something weird. I got a select group of friends that I meet, it's like other dads. You run into other dads at the ballpark or at soccer practice or whatever. And I've made a couple of friends who are interested in knives and they know what I do. So some of them will ask, like, what are you carrying? And I will put certain knives in my pocket just in case I run into that Jerry guy who likes knives that I met at the soccer field, right? Just because. And so not because I feel like I'm going to need it, but because I feel like it's interesting. It also kind of tickles that overbuilt itch. I don't need this, right? But I like to carry it. It's almost, kind of the same reason for the Geddon. The Geddon is about the biggest knife, the biggest, heaviest, thickest knife that I will carry. I have no need for this, and the geometry of the blade is so ridiculous that even if you were using this for whatever it's supposed to be intended for, it would make that less convenient. The Geddon was not created because there is some sort of task that this is optimized for. It was created because thick knife, big funny. That's the reason, right? That makes some people are just unable to comprehend that that's possible, but truthfully, that is why, right? Because big knife, big thick knife, right? It's weird. It's just funny. I like to carry this specifically for that because it's fun to get it out and to hold it and to use it for simple tasks, which is not very good at, but also because sometimes I run into people and I like to talk with them about this stuff. If I am feeling like I'm in that mood for something big and robust, but I still need it to be like convenient. Like I might actually be doing something somewhat serious, right? Then I go with the 80-20i. This is, in my opinion, it is probably the best balance of everything, right? What it has over the 80-10 is the much more convenient locking system. This particular one doesn't quite have the same robust feeling as the 80-10 because it's G10, but that's okay with me, right? I would love it if they did an 80-20i in titanium. I hope they do that. I'll buy it. But yeah, this one I carry because I'm in a mood. Like I want to carry something like, really masculine and robust. But also I might actually be doing like knife stuff, and I really want to be able to, conveniently deploy this knife and put it away. Like I find it a lot more organic. This is why I like this knife so much. There's a bunch of these other knives that are carried for similar reasons. And that theme, that general theme, I guess one more overbuilt knife that I'll carry. This knife, it just has, to finish off with the whole overbuilt stuff, I like to carry the 3/4 AR, which was designed by Strider, but made by Medford. This one was an S90V. I carry this one for the overbuiltness, I guess, but I also just really like the look. And truthfully, it is not comfortable. Like, this is not a comfortable knife. It is so weird. But I think I kind of like it for that weirdness, right? As somebody who is, a knife reviewer and is my full-time job, if you didn't know, that's all I do is review knives. I'm full-time social media. I criticize when things are non-utilitarian in my knife reviews, but I am also the type of person who will collect and use things that are the opposite of convenient and the opposite of utility, because there's a weird charm to it. And anybody who's been collecting knives or been a knife enthusiast of any type at any level for long enough will understand exactly what I'm talking about. This is not a knife that I carry for utility. It is not optimized for anything that I will do. I carry it because it's weird, because it's just a weird freaking knife. I don't even think that's factory. I think I put that on after the fact. I don't remember. Yeah, in fact, I know that that's the case. I'm just now realizing that LBS was, something down the road. I just like that weird combination of Medford and Strider there, right? A lot of these other ones are carried for obvious reasons, right? The flashy flash, right? The Milita. I love that shiny DLC. I also like the Milita in particular and the Kunwu knives for having shiny DLC and, really well heat treated blade steels. They're convenient and they are good tools. Like the Milita is a great tool, but I get the combination of it's a really good tool and it also has that flash on it, right? Titanium and the shiny DLC, and this one has like the cool carbon fiber, right? I doubt that, when I carry this, I doubt it would get used more than once to just cut something. The shiny DLC, by the way, is an option. People say it's a fingerprint magnet or, he obviously doesn't use it, it's too clean. If you know what this is, then you know how scratch resistant it is. You can go out and get this thing absolutely disgusting. Not to say that I have. I mean, at the most, it's had some tape residue on it, but a DLC coated is incredibly hard. So, like cutting through cardboard or tape residue or anything that would leave anything behind, literally just wiping it off is going to result in the finish looking almost exactly the same way it was when you bought it brand new, right? You really have to like chuck it across the concrete to get it to look bad. But that's a nice thing about stuff like this is it won't really get used that hard, but if it does get dirty somehow, if it somehow gets mud, it doesn't really matter, right? It's cool, it's utilitarian, it's got that flash to it. This one, the Remet RT Swordfish, what do you guys think? The whole reason I carry this is because it's a fun gravity knife, right? This does not give me any specific advantage over anything else. I just really like it. It's just cool. It's just fun. The Kunwu, this one is about the same reason as this guy. Like, I just find the profile and the ergonomic lines and, where you manipulate it. I find that to be incredibly convenient. But I also like the shiny DLC. It's just kind of like the level of luxury and the function of it. Like, it's cool that it's like really flashy and fun and, for reasons that nobody else will care about except me. Like in the average crowd of people, let's say I'm in a crowd of 100 people, exactly nobody else will care about any of these features on this knife except for me, right? I mean, maybe like one or two people max. It doesn't matter. I like it for me. I'm like, sometimes I'll be standing still and I'll be like, the Kunwu knife in my pocket has a Damascus pivot collar. Or like what's that meme? The guy in the corner? They don't know my knife has a Damascus pivot collar. I do that. And I'm fully aware that nobody cares but me. But that's the joy I get from it, right? This guy, the EZE, it's because it's an integral. This is a good utilitarian size, right? It's a good compact knife. Fun flipper, right? Not going to win any awards for ergonomics or, the blade shape is not necessarily going to be the absolute best for anything, given that it's a compound tanto, but it'd be okay. But I don't carry it for any of that. I carry it because it's got textured zirconium and it's an integral. That's why I carry it. Not because I feel like, I'm doing compound tanto tasks today. I'm definitely not doing that. I just want to carry an integral, right? I mean, this one also obvious. Like, why would you carry the Winterblade Co. Severn, right? Is it because it's incredibly utilitarian and convenient and optimized perfectly for, performance and all that? It actually is. The funny thing is that this knife is beautifully optimized for daily carry. But that ain't why we carry the Severn, guys. We carry the Severn because the Severn is a badass knife. That's why you carry this. You know that's why you carry it. It's because there ain't nothing else on the market like the 7. This thing is ridiculous. You carry it because it's cool. You carry it because there's a part of your brain that goes, I really hope somebody asks me about my knife today. Come on. If you carry the 7, you are dying. You're at the supermarket and someone's like, you're like you're pretending to look at like the various types of spaghetti noodles. Some lady in her like mid-50s walks by and you're like, God, that would be really cool if she asked me about my pocket knife. Not really. That's a bit extreme, but you know what I mean, right? It's somewhere in your subconscious you would be flattered. Maybe you're not thinking that while you're looking at the spaghetti, but somewhere in your subconscious you would be flattered if someone was like, excuse me, young man, do you happen to have a folding blade on you? And you're like, why? Yes, I do. What can I help you with? I just need to remove this tag from whatever. And you're like, sure. And you whip it out and you're like, no problem. And they're like, what sort of fancy pocket knife is that? And you're like, well, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you about it. Come on. There's a part of you that would just love it. And like knife guys are it doesn't really matter who it is. The fact that someone would show interest, even if it's just like, this is obviously a ridiculous fantasy scenario, but the fact that someone would show interest and let you talk about it, we live for those potential moments, right? That's why we gravitate towards each other, because we're the only other people who's willing to sit down and bear witness to this insufferable. I mean, that's what I'm doing right now, right? Most other people are like, wow, I really wasn't like wanting a half-hour PowerPoint presentation on all of the beneficial elements of your pocket knife, but okay, since I'm trapped here, like that. Nope, we would love that, but all of us would talk too much, right? The Max Ace, same thing. Utilitarian, sure. I could say it's because of the classic knife profile, right? It's because of the incredibly utilitarian drop point blade and the smooth, comfortable, ergonomic lines. No, I'm carrying this because it's shiny. I'm carrying it because shiny and carbon fiber, right? Because it makes me feel like a fancy gentleman. It's not appropriate to wear a top hat out in public all the time, right? I can't do that. So how do I make myself feel fancy? I carry this guy. I carry the Max Ace. Is it the Peregrine? I think this is the Peregrine 1, right? It just makes me feel like a fancy guy. It's just a fun one. Exactly the same thing with the Herman. The Herman's just more subtle, right? Like I get this in my head, I'm like, it's fancy. And no one would even know. No one would even know how fancy this Herman is because it's so unassuming. Yes, of course. My tastes are beyond comprehension. I carry knives that are far too luxurious for the common soul. It is so unassuming. It's so stupid. It's stupid, but yeah, for sure. The Hawk, why? Why? The Hawk shortcut? Because I hate utility knives. And I feel like the existence of the Hawk shortcut is just mocking the basic utilitarian benefits of an economic utility knife, right? It's just like, it's so intentionally overkill. Nobody needs a $500 box cutter, yet the Hawk shortcut exists and it is extremely popular. It's just all it has to do, it is exist. It is number one, successful, and number two, pissing people off left and right. And I just, for some reason, find that really funny. But it's too much money for a utility knife. You have to be honest with yourself if you're going to buy that. At checkout, there honestly should be a box that says, how do they start those off? I am a willing participant in reckless financial decisions. I hereby, admit to taking part in reckless financial decisions. I know exactly what I'm doing. Just give me the knife, right? That should be a part of it. It's okay. It's all right. I feel like a lot of people, you get into this, like if you're new, you get into it and you have to like justify your carry. I hear so many people trying to justify, well, here's why I carry the Cold Steel 5 Max. You know, a lot of people say it's overkill, but in my line of work, shut up! You carry it because it's big and because you like big knives. Just say that. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to judge you, right? I mean, if people do, who cares? Carry what you want, right? You don't have to justify it. You don't have to be doing things that require that or whatever your knife is capable of doing at its maximum potential. You don't need to. You can just do it. The other day on Elden Ring, I equipped 2 sledgehammers. 2 giant sledgehammers. I was dual wielding. The build was not optimal at all. It was actually really inconvenient. So why did I do it? Because it's funny. I thought it was really funny. It looked insane, right? And that's okay. Like, I wasn't gonna be like, well, actually, strategically, this, and I'm sure there's a reason for it. But the way that I had him spec'd out, this makes sense to people who play Elden Ring, but other people are like, what is he talking about, right? The way I had him spec'd out, it made no sense at all. It was just funny. I was just a big hammer-wielding idiot just swinging at anything that came within a 100-yard radius of me. Because it was funny. Because I enjoyed it. It brought me happiness. And at the end of the day, that's it. That's all it's about. If you are enjoying this, if you're having fun, if it's putting a smile on your face, even if it's just for you, even if you are that guy in the corner at the party on the meme, they don't know I'm carrying a Maxace Peregrine. You know, they don't know I'm carrying whatever. They don't know my knife is $1,500. I'm not going to use it, but I've got it in my pocket. That's fine. If you are enjoying it, if it's bringing you happiness, then keep doing that because it's perfectly okay. That's it for today. We've covered this topic before, but it was worth talking about again. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.